So feel free to sing along with these carols. Thank you, Kathy and Nylea and our dancers for our wonderful holiday cheer and carol sing before we begin our service. Thank you all so much. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos, and happy holidays to all. My name is the Reverend Tina DeYoe, and I am the minister here at this church. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your image of the holy, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. If this is your first time with us, We'd love to get to know you. Please sign our guest sign-in book in the foyer, where you can also sign up to receive our church announcement emails. You can also speak with our greeter, Mike McNaughton, or myself for more info about our church. If you are watching online, hello and happy holidays. We are glad you are with us virtually. Please sign our virtual guest book that is in the notes below the worship video. You can also sign our virtual prayer book if you have a joy or sorrow to share with our community. We have our Candles of Community area over here, and you are invited to write a joy or a sorrow in our book anytime throughout the service. These joys and sorrows will not be read this evening as they normally are in our Sunday services. If you have any emergent pastoral care concerns over the holidays, please feel free to email me. We have lots of worship options for young children tonight. We have our activity table here. Kids can stay seated with their parents or caregivers. We have a library quiet room, and our nursery is down the hall for kiddos 0 to 3. Our nursery coordinator, Sarah Hamoud, will be happy to check your kiddos in. Terra Louise, our director of Lifespan Spiritual Enrichment, is also joining me tonight as our worship associate. Please speak with her after the service or myself if you have questions about our kid, youth, and adult programming. Please make sure also that you picked up a candle in the foyer on your way in, as we will light these at the end of our service as we sing Silent Night. There's also non-flammable versions for folks who don't want a flame in their hand. So throughout the service, we will be singing familiar UU songs and carols. Some of the lyrics of the songs are different from what is written in your hymn book, so please refer to the words up here on the screen while singing. And please join us after the service in the fellowship hall for a cookie reception. We gather in worship to find meaning and to live more deeply. Worship creates connections within, among, and beyond us, calling us to be our better selves, calling us to live with wisdom and compassion. During our Christmas Eve worship today, we will hear reflections from Palestinian and Jewish voices on each of the themes that the Advent candles here represent: hope, peace, joy, love, and light. We will reflect on how these Advent themes can transform our world by breaking down the walls and by building bridges toward hope and peace. The birth of Jesus, being celebrated by Christians on Christmas, takes place in Bethlehem, in modern-day Palestine in the West Bank. Israel and Palestine share many of the 3 Abrahamic religions' holy lands. Living in Israel and Palestine, there are Israeli Jews and there are Palestinian Jews. There are Israeli Christians and there are Palestinian Christians. There are Israeli Muslims and there are Palestinian Muslims. People who practice other religions, for example, like Baha'i, also live upon these holy lands in Palestine and Israel. These are indeed holy lands for a lot of people, yet there is so much conflict present on these lands and in Gaza. I pray for peace on the daily for all the people living in Israel, the West Bank of Palestine, and in Gaza, which is also part of Palestine. We also know that this time of year, many religions, especially those in the Northern Hemisphere, have festivals of lights. The reminder of light in the darkness is especially important in the months of cold and darkness. Christians celebrate Christmas, and in New Mexico, Spanish culture celebrates Las La Posadas with farolitos. Pagans celebrate solstice. Jewish people celebrate Hanukkah, which starts tomorrow evening. And so as it starts tomorrow evening, we're not going to light the menorah. We're going to light a symbolic candle in front of our menorah today. African Americans or people of the African diaspora celebrate Kwanzaa. And in the indigenous pueblos here in New Mexico, there are many celebrations with big bonfires and dances. There are many festivals of light this time of year, and today we celebrate the hope that the light brings. You will hear reflections from people in Palestine and people from our congregation with Jewish heritage. We know it is so important to work together in solidarity with one another as we find solutions for peace in a holy land that is full of conflict. We pray for peace in Israel, in the West Bank of Palestine, and in Gaza. We pray for peace for all people of this world. Today, in our service, we will look back on the history of a story of a miraculous birth of a revolutionary figure during a time of an empire's rule. Any day a baby is born is a miraculous day. Today's message is also a message that looks at the reality of present-day Bethlehem while learning the hard truths of what people really are experiencing there on a daily basis. This is the exact land where Jesus, a Jew, the Prince of Peace, was born. Bethlehem is known as the city of peace. These people living in Bethlehem, living in the West Bank, living in Gaza, and living in Israel do not get to live their lives in peace. Palestinians are unfortunately living their lives under occupation, under an apartheid government system and behind separation walls. Today's message is also a message that looks forward to what can be if we all lay down our swords and pick up plowshares together. This plowshare work is exactly what the Joint Advocacy Initiative of the YMCA of Bethlehem and East Jerusalem is doing with their Keep Hope Alive Olive Tree campaign. This is the group I went with and worked in solidarity with in 2014 and 2015 in the West Bank of Palestine. We worked in solidarity with Palestinian farmers to plant olive trees and harvest olives in order for these farmers to be able to keep their Zone C land, which falls under the military occupation of Israel. And even though it is in the West Bank of Palestine, it can be confiscated at any time. Today's message is about recognizing humanity in everyone as we break down the walls and barriers that separate us from one another. Advent, this time we have been in, the time that we have been waiting for this miraculous birth, gives us the justice tools of hope, peace, love, joy, and light. To knock down the walls that separate and divide us as people of this world. As we celebrate Christmas today, let us remember that our liberation is bound with the liberation of others in this world, including the Palestinians and including the people of Israel. Tonight, as we explore the theme of knocking down walls of separation and building bridges to keep hope alive, we physically have set up here in our worship space a table that demonstrates these separation walls. The nativity scene is behind these walls. The candles of Advent represent justice tools of hope, peace, love, joy, and light. Each time tonight that we light an Advent candle, we will be knocking down a piece of the wall that represents the struggles of oppression, hate, division, and war in our world. These walls will then become the bridge to the nativity scene, to the Prince of Peace. So come, let us worship together, and may peace forever prevail on earth. And let us now light our chalice flame.
We light the chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, with words from our Unitarian Universalist Soul Matters curriculum. Pulled in many directions by the demands of our days, we light this chalice to remind us of the still point deep inside. Made unsteady by the winds of unpredictable paths, we light this chalice to remember the shelter of each other. Longing for lights that lead us back to our truest selves, we light this chalice to illuminate the faces of friends and sacred companions, recalling once again that we find our way through the willingness to take each other's hands.
Please rise in body and/or spirit and sing our opening hymn, People Look East. Please be seated. So I would like to invite all the young and young at heart up here to our young worshipers space. So come on up if you want to. You what? You're young at heart. Okay, good. But you're old. Okay. Come on up. Yeah.
I'm 100 years old, minus 0.
-0. Okay, 100 years old minus 0. All right, so tonight is Christmas Eve, and tomorrow is Christmas. Super exciting. Are you guys excited? Who's excited? Raise your hand. Maybe, yeah? So some of you might be opening presents, and some of you might be giving presents. And Santa will hopefully also stop by all your all's houses. So we know that in the Christian religion, they celebrate the birth of Jesus, who they believe is the Son of God. So Jesus was a cool guy. He was pretty cool. He was Jewish and from the land of Judea, and so he was Judean. He taught some really good lessons. He taught us to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. He even taught us to love our enemies. That is some of what Jesus taught us to do, to love our neighbors and to love our enemies. So Jesus was born in a place called Bethlehem, which is over in modern-day Palestine. The birthplace of Jesus and Jesus' birth is what we are celebrating today, and we are celebrating the love that he shared and taught many people. In this place called Bethlehem, today there is a wall. Look, do you see the wall? There's a wall that surrounds Bethlehem that prevents people in Bethlehem, kids and adults, from being able to go see their family and friends on the other side of that wall. So today in the service, we have our wall pieces here, and tonight, as we light our Advent candles up here for hope, peace, love, joy, and light, we're going to knock down pieces of this wall and build some bridges. Yeah. I'm not really sure. I don't know why there are holes in the top of the wall. I am not sure. So we're going to knock down and build bridges, which I think is cool because we want to build bridges and not walls between people in this world, right? I think that's probably a good plan. So the people in Bethlehem, I've been there. I've been to Bethlehem, and I've seen this wall, okay? The people of Bethlehem have graffitied on this wall. They've put beautiful art on it, and they have put stories on it, okay? So, what? Oh, they smashed it, okay. So they put art and graffiti and stories on it. So I'm going to share a story that is on the wall in Bethlehem from a teenager. So this story is by Majd, a teenager from Bethlehem. Bethlehem, a holy city, a place where all kinds of people are welcome. It is my hometown, a place where I can relax, a safe place, a place of religion, a wonderful place, a place I want to build my future, my better life, finalize my high school education. I know, it's hard, right? So this youth says they want to finalize their high school education and hopefully become a veterinarian. Bethlehem is an open prison. In my future, it is a safe place of freedom, a place known for its hospitality for everyone, especially tourists, a place where people bond and talk and be free. So that's a separation wall that's keeping people separate, yeah. And they built.
Is it around the city?
It's around, yeah, some parts of the city, exactly. Yes. So you have lots of good questions, and I will answer them in our after coffee time. Is that okay? Okay. All right. So this is Madge's story from Bethlehem, and I also want to put up some of the stickers. Do you see these stickers right here? There's some of the graffiti that is on the wall, okay? That actually is on the real wall. So there's one that says, Happy Christmas from Bethlehem. So we're going to put that one up here on the wall, okay? They're already coming down, which is great. This one is a dove, which is a symbol of peace. So we're going to put that on there. Okay. Then we have some more graffiti. We have a picture of a mother with a baby, And it says, remember the women and children. And then we have a picture of graffiti that says, love wins. Do I have a sticker that has a story on it? I don't, actually. Yeah, I know. And then our last one is a kid with balloons so that maybe they can rise above the wall, right? So as we light our Advent candles up here, we're going to knock down the pieces, right? And which will then build bridges toward the nativity. We're gonna knock ours down as like a metaphor, okay? They haven't knocked theirs down, no. They're made of cement. So we're gonna build these bridges to the nativity scene and the birth of baby Jesus back there, who is the Prince of Peace. So let us go out today from here. You can go through them, yes. So remember to carry the words of hope, peace, love, joy, and light with you as we knock down the walls and build bridges. So thank you for coming up, and Merry Christmas. Yeah, you guys can go back to your seats. Thank you, guys. We're going to knock them down in just a second. You'll see it. Keep watching, okay? You'll see it. Here we go. Here's a chair. So we are now heading into our offering time. And our Christmas Eve offering goes to the Minister Discretionary Fund. And this is a fund that I, as your minister, am able to use to help those here in our church community or the wider northern New Mexico region with immediate needs. Immediate needs are things like a rent check because a family member was laid off and needs to find another job, or a check written to pay for groceries, or to help a family in their moving expenses or medical expenses. Members and friends of this congregation can come to me at any point to make a request of these funds for emergency situations that people might run into in their lives. So please feel free to use the QR code for the Givelify app on the screen to make a donation and select the Minister Discretionary Fund. All cash and undesignated funds will go towards this offering tonight. And may what you give bring you joy. Thank you. Thank you for your generosity this evening. And may these gifts help those in our community needing help in difficult times. Tonight, you will also see reflections from organizations in Palestine. One of these organizations is the Joint Advocacy Initiative of the YMCA, YWCA of Bethlehem and East Jerusalem, and their Keep Hope Alive Olive Tree campaign. After the service, we will have a basket out for folks who would like to give to that organization as well. $20 buys an olive tree for a Palestinian farmer. Again, thank you for your generosity.
Fill us and give us hope enough to knock down the walls and barriers that divide and separate us. Let us travel to Bethlehem, where love is born anew each day.
So as we light each of our Advent candles this evening, we will knock down a panel of the wall to build that bridge to our nativity scene. Then you will hear a reflection on that Advent candle word, and then we will sing a responsive song together after the reflection. And these first 4 videos reflect on hope and will give you a very brief glimpse into the lives of Palestinians living in Bethlehem and the surrounding areas in the West Bank. They will reflect on how this work gives them hope. You will hear a story from one of the farmers, from Palestinian youth and young adults, and from Ibrahim, one of the olive planting trip coordinators and media officers. The last video actually was filmed when both of my parents were over there in the West Bank together. I was there in 2014 and 15, and the last video was in 2017 on one of their trips.
Since 2001, more than 500,000 olive trees have been uprooted by the Israelis. These olive trees belong to Palestinian landowners and farmers. The trees are uprooted mainly for the construction of the Israeli separation wall and the building and expansion of Israeli settlements in occupied Palestine. Many of these trees are hundreds of years old, some even dating back to the Roman era. The Olive Tree Campaign seeks to replant olive trees in fields that are threatened with confiscation by the Israeli military occupation and settlers. The Olive Tree Campaign started as a Palestinian project by the Joint Advocacy Initiative of the YMCA of East Jerusalem and the YWCA of Palestine. Through a network of supporters, they have been able to find benefactors from all over the world to sponsor olive trees that are planted as a sign of solidarity and hope for Palestinian farmers. In the Netherlands, the Olive Tree campaign is sponsored by 5 Dutch church-related organisations: the ICCO, Cordaid, IKV, Pax Christi, and the national YMCA and YWCA. The Dutch Olive Tree campaign organises regular activities and presentations to communicate the stories of Palestinian farmers. The Palestinian coordinator of the OTC visits the Netherlands every year during Peace Week to give presentations and meet with sponsors and potential sponsors. The Dutch OTC wants to give a voice to the people whose stories often unheard. Through their efforts, the Dutch Olive Tree campaign has managed to sponsor an average of 1,500 olive trees every year since the start of the campaign. Through the Olive Tree campaign, we try to keep hope alive and work towards peace and justice.
فايز شاكر ذياب مرعي من بيت الجزة، عمري 49 سنة، وأنا بالنسبة في الأرض هاي يعني بظل فيها وعانينا منها، وهي كانت 67 دنم، وفي أحداث الجدار أخذوا منها 42 دنم تقريبا، ظل عندي 25 21 اللي ضايل منها، وخلعوا لي منها زيتون كثير، وهيني بحاول بدي أظل مكمل فيها يعني أزرع فيها أنا بالنسبة لأرضي بتحد راس التلة تحت وبتلف مع جميع الأرض. عندي في الحفر نزلوا تقريبا 15 متر، وكان الحكي هذا في 2002 إلى 2004، وكان عندنا صار شوية مشاكل عندنا علشان الجدار، واستشهد عندنا شباب من المنطقة، وكانت هي أول الأحداث عندنا في المنطقة اللي سقط فيها شهداء الله يرحمهم. وإحنا يعني كان أخو في إيدي أخو عاجز، ضربوه نزلوا أسنانه قدامه، أنا ضربوني، أخوتي ضربوني في أحداث الجدار وإحنا نقاوم في الأرض، وفي النهاية ما قدرنا الإشي اللي بدهم إياه عملوا. وفي أحداث الجدار يعني لما خلعونا تقريبا 100 عرك هون، يعني سحبوا قلوبنا. احنا بالنسبة لنا أنا كشخص واحد من أحد إخواني الخمسة، أنا عندي 9 أشخاص، وإخواني الخمسة عندهم تقريبا كمان 70 واحد، وإحنا المصدر الرزق جميعا يعني إحنا معتمدين عليها لشتل الزيتون. بالنسبة للأرض هذا أنا يوم بعد يوم بيجي عليها، وعندي بير مي بحاول أسقي الشجر الصغير اللي زرعته قبل سنة وسنتين، وكمان بزرع خضرة. أنا قدمت لبرنامج المناصرة المشترك عشان أشتغل الزيتون، وعن طريق مؤسسات أجنبية، وإن شاء الله إنهم بدعمونا ويخلف عليهم اللي بوقفوا معنا في أمور زي هاي، وهم بدعمونا وبخلونا صامدين في أرضنا بحدود الجدار والمستوطنة. واحنا ان شاء الله يعني مش رايحين نبعد عنها، ونضلنا محافظين عليها، وبدنا نضلنا نزرع، وشو بخلع واحنا كمان بدنا نزرع، واحنا الجميع انا واخواني واولادنا والجميع يعني مش رايحين نتخلى عن سنتي واحد منها.
الشعب الفلسطيني اليهود طبعا حاصروه وقضوا عليه، حتى انهم منعوا مطلقة زعتر.
Hello everyone, my name is Anthony Khair. I'm a volunteer at the YMCA Youth Hub. Here we come everyone. Here we come to plant trees all around the beautiful village of Jab'a, here in the middle of Palestine. Planting trees is what gives us hope. We believe that planting trees will make create such a big change in the Palestinian society. Here we are helping all the Palestinian farmers and their families, giving them hope in order for them to finally complete all the trees here and plant them and have a wonderful day with each other.
Hello everyone, my name is Butler-Moore. I'm from Al Khadir village. I'm 16 years old and today we here the team of DeYoe to plant trees in the land. We protect and save and because the olive trees is the heart of our culture and it's our job to protect them from the settlement and settlers.
هاي معاي في دياب.
حمدان طبعا مزارع أدوا الGIA يساعدونا في الزراعة ما شاء الله عنهم حقيقة إنهم ناس طيبين محترمين الشباب والشابات نشكرهم جميعا على هذا العمل التطوعي. اعتبره أنا يعني مش فقط عمل تطوعي إنما يعني مساعدتنا على الثبات في هذه الأرض. طبعا شجرة الزيتون هي شجرة مباركة حتى أنها ذكرت في القرآن الكريم. الله سبحانه وتعالى ذكرها وقال عنها بأنها شجرة مباركة زيتونة لا شرقية ولا غربية يكاد زيتها يضيء. فيعني شجرة الزيتون يعني تعني شجرة الزيتون البقاء في هذه الأرض والثبات في هذه الأرض. ونحن دائمون صامدون في هذه الأرض ما بقي فينا عرق ينبض وعين ترى وأذن تسمع فنحن باقون. شوكة في حلق المستوطنين التراهم في المنطقة هاي هذولا بيحاولوا انهم يحاربوا شجرة الزيتون. طبعا المستوطنة هاي اسمها بيت عايد بيحاولوا انهم يقتلعوا الزيتون. فباقتلاعهم هذه الشجرة كأنهم هم يعني بيحاولوا يقتلعونا احنا ولكن
My name is Ibrahim Hanouna. I am the media officer at the Joint Advocacy Initiative of the YMCA and YWCA who runs the olive tree campaign. This week we have the olive planting program, which is part of the olive tree campaign. This year we have 45 internationals from various countries. They are here mainly to first give international protective presence to the farmers and landowners when they come and help them plant their olive trees. Second, they are here also to see and witness how Palestinian farmers live under occupation, what challenges they face at their fields, how they're subjected to the occupation measures by the Israeli settlers or soldiers, and to take these stories and pictures and what they would witness, to take them back to their countries and communities and movements, and also to give moral support to the farmers and the landowners, that we are here to help you, we are here to show solidarity with you, we hear you. So this is also why the campaign is about keeping hope alive for the farmers.
It's hard to say what I want the programme to achieve the most. Obviously, I think it's great that we're giving back to the farmers, we're planting olive trees, so I hope that these trees will not get uprooted and stay for thousands of years and go through the generations of Palestinians who deserve these trees, who deserve this land. And I also hope that from the amount of education we received on this trip, that we can take it back to our countries and we can be the voices, we can be the eyes and the mouths of the Palestinian people that obviously don't have the opportunity to travel and to tell their own stories. And I hope that through our words and our testimonies, we can bring this situation to light, we can change people's minds, we can gather support.
Mohamed Al-Qaisi, the Olive Tree Campaign Coordinator in the JI. So this year the olive planting was, I could say, like a very good program. We have got 45 participants from all around the world. We have mainly from the UK and the US and some from other European countries. The most important thing that in the program that we can plant the olive trees that we already wanted to plant, and that happened. Today is the last day of the planting days. We've been planting in 4 different fields in the south of Bethlehem.
Important to me, I had been to Israel on a birthright trip, which I was not particularly crazy about, and it became really important to me to visit Palestine and to see the wall firsthand, and to see what the living conditions are like here, and to speak with farmers and teachers and doctors, and you know, we've had fantastic guides here, and just learn about it firsthand, so that I can really go back to my community and go back to my family and back to my friends and say, this is what I saw, this is what life is like there. This is their reality.
يعني اللي يصح لها من ما احنا دائما معمرينها لو نخربها بس ما في خرب فيها دائما باستمرار بنعمر فيها.
قديش المستوطنة قريبة عليكم؟
هي قريبة
يعني انتوا مثلا بتخافوا ان المستوطنة تتوسع وتصل الارض وتاخذ الارض؟
طبعا احنا بنعمل عشان هيك بنحافظ على الارض عشان هيك. مساعدة مش غلط، المساعدة مطلوبة يعني، ورده منيح انهم بيجوا بيساعدوا، بيحسوا انهم الفلاح كيف بتعب كيف بيشتغل يعني كيف بيعاني.
بشوفوا الارض تبعتكم
بشوفوا الارض تبعتنا واحنا كيف يعني بنتعب فيها وبنشكى يعني بيحسوا معنا
وعشان مستوطنين
عشان مستوطنين نحمل الارض.
So I think that something as tangible as planting a tree is really helpful for short-term groups to experience Israel and Palestine. This program gives a goal that can be set and accomplished in a short amount of time, and it's also a really symbolic thing for Palestinians, so I think it's a really approachable way to get internationals to experience the land.
Palestine will be free from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free.
So that was youth and young adults planting olive trees together and saying that that gives them hope, and helping out the Palestinian farmers whose story we did not hear fully, but it is on the internet if you look up Joint Advocacy Initiative. So in that spirit of hope and continuing to plant olive trees, let us stay seated and join in singing our responsive song, We Are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises, sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers. We
Fill us and give us peace, enough to knock down the walls and barriers that divide and separate us. Let us travel to Bethlehem, where love is born anew each day.
And now we have a reflection from one of our members, Sarah Joyce.
Hi, I'm Sarah. So I got, I got the Candle of Peace, and that's kind of a weird one to get in this town and community where we all implicitly benefit from war. The work that we do complicates our relationship with peace inherently, and I'm sure that there are lots of other lab employees here. That makes this really complicated because, you know, we can look at Palestine and we can think that probably some of the work that's come out of Los Alamos has directly contributed to the deaths of people there. But that doesn't mean that although our relationship with peace is more complicated and more difficult because of that externally and on a global level, that we can't struggle to find more peace and create it in our lives, at home, in our community, in the greater state of New Mexico, and globally. So my reflection today isn't much outside of to sit with the fact that living here makes your relationship with peace more difficult, and that it's really important to acknowledge that, especially when we're not supporting, but like, I don't know, America is supporting this horrible atrocity that we're discussing a lot today. And that we can all move forward with love and choose in this new year to do better within our ability, even if sometimes I personally really struggle to justify trying at home when like, oh, but my life is like this at work, and kind of, I just encourage you to embrace that struggle and think about it. And think about your relationship with peace. That's it. That wasn't very good, but happy Christmas.
So let us now sing our responsive song. You can stay seated. There's more love somewhere.
Fill us and give us love, enough to knock down the walls and barriers that divide and separate us. Let us travel to Bethlehem, where love is born anew each day.
So we light our candle of joy, and this will show us, this video hopefully will play. I'll do it from my thing and see if it works. Will show us the joy of Palestinian land and culture through the work of the Palestine Institute for Biodiversity and Sustainability. Yeah.
I'm Mazen Kumsiya. From my childhood, I used to go to the valleys, especially with my uncle, Sana'atullah, who was the first Palestinian zoologist. He finished his PhD in the US, and then unfortunately he died in a car accident a few months after he finished his PhD. His dream was to eventually build a museum of natural history. He didn't get to do that, but as a child, I committed to finish his work, following his footsteps. My wife and I, after we returned from the US, we donated $250,000, and we started this Palestine Institute for Biodiversity and Sustainability in 2014. And the museum grew faster than we expected.
From its beginning 10 years ago, the museum grounds became an oasis of peace and a magnet for people from around the world seeking to help people and nature.
في 2014 بلشت كمتطوع، بلشنا على تطوير هذا الموقع من مخزن للأثاث والمعدات ولمواد البناء. اليوم الحديقة اتطورت، صار في عندنا مسارات تخدم الزوار، تخدم كمان الباحثين. الحديقة النباتية تخدم الزوار للتعرف على بعض النماذج التعليمية زي البركة البيئية، أنظمة الزراعة المائية والاستزراع السمكي، الحديقة المجتمعية، بالإضافة لحديقة أطفال.
This institute serves as a great and unique educational tool for all kinds of people, whether students like I was, children, women, educators. We worked with more than 12,000 school students and more than 20,000 international and local visitors. Our natural history exhibit is also a great tool to teach people and show people all of the biodiversity found in Palestine. We also have a mobile educational unit, which is basically a museum on wheels that we take all over the West Bank to marginalized communities that are not able to reach us.
Our institute at Bethlehem University had miraculous achievements that are detailed in our 10-year anniversary booklet. Some of them include leading the efforts to create the National Report for the Convention on Biological Diversity, create the National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan, as well as formulate a new protected areas network. We developed valuable collections including thousands of invertebrate and vertebrate specimens, herbarium specimens, hundreds of zoological and paleontological specimens, rare and antique books, as well as ethnographic, historical, or cultural items. The Institute at Bethlehem University has become not only a national institute, but also a regional and global institute and a destination for researchers and visitors from around the world.
In terms of research, we published 128 research publications. We have also conservation efforts. We did community service, working with farmers, with marginalized communities, with women, to empower them to make sure that they follow their dreams like we followed our dreams.
The museum here is an oasis in the midst of the occupation and the war zones. It is a beautiful place to preserve nature and learn about the biodiversity of Palestine. I am learning so much as I volunteer here.
حابة أشكر المعهد على جهودهم المثمرة في تعريفي على التنوع الحيوي في فلسطين من خلال الفعاليات التي شاركت فيها، حيث زاد حبي واهتمامي لطبيعة بلادي، وأدركت أن يجب الحفاظ على بيئتنا لأنها أساس المستقبل.
I'm addicted to love of this institution and all it stands for. I love to volunteer here and observe nature and busy people working to leave this world a better place for future generations.
I followed the dream of my uncle, and with the help of these volunteers and my wife, we were able to achieve more than we expected in those 10 years. I want to thank our volunteers and our staff and everybody who contributed to this project. Thank you. We now have less than 100 square meters for exhibits, but we are building a new facility that will expand our previous facility by tenfold. This building will have over 1,100 square meters, and it will have exhibits about the history of Palestine, including the history of the Palestinian Nakba, the destruction of our society as indigenous people. So I think it will be a magnificent museum that will draw millions of people over the next 10 years. This new facility can be completed. We now have 2/3 of the funding for it. There's a lot more to be done. You can support us by either donating cash or donating in kind. You can also donate your time by coming and working here as volunteers. All of this can happen with your support, with your help. Thank you.
So please stand in body and or spirit and sing our responsive carol, Joy to the World.
Fill us and give us love, enough to knock down the walls and barriers that divide and separate us. Let us travel to Bethlehem, where love is born anew each day.
Now we will have Tara Adams, who has a reflection on love.
Can't see. I decided to share my Jewish story of love, which begins in Russia before the turn of the century. When it was arranged for my great-grandmother, Rachel Schulman, to marry Walter Borovsky, I'm sure my daughter will correct my pronunciation later, she somehow learned beforehand who her betrothed was to be. The family story goes that Rachel left on a 30-mile hike to visit cousins in Klimovich, where she set eyes on Walter in person. The result of their meeting was successful as they produced 13 children, 7 of whom lived to adulthood. One of these was my great-grandmother, Esther Berzon. Esther met her own husband-to-be, Morris Gorodnitsky, while he was trying to unionize the laundry shop in which she worked in Mogilev, in today's Belarus. Morris left Russia for London, where he was housed at a camp sponsored by the Rothschilds for refugees. He got a job in a British bakery and saved money until his cousins in Buffalo, New York sponsored him to emigrate to the US, where he changed his surname to Gordon. Morris sent for Esther in 1907, and they were married there. Against the backdrop of widespread anti-Jewish violence, revolution, and the threat of Russia's entry into World War I, my great-grandmother reconstituted her family in Buffalo. Esther began by sending for her own parents, Walter and Rachel. My great-aunt Libby later wrote, Esther's brothers came over about 1914, just before World War I. I remember my mother paying the immigration broker $3 a week to pay for passage steerage class. I also remember her dragging me, my brother Hite, and my sister Edith by streetcar every week to the downtown area, which seemed endless as we lived just outside of Buffalo, called Black Rock. My mother was remarkable. She was bound to bring her whole family to the United States with so little resources. She sent my uncles, Morris, Sam, and Eddie, to barber school as they were untrained. The whole family lived together in a large house in Buffalo. Esther's parents and brothers lived upstairs, and the Gordons lived downstairs. There was a bakery in the back of their house and a grocery in the front. Esther and Morris's second-born child, named Hite, met and married Mimi Sumberg before he enlisted to fight in World War II. He was stationed in Italy, where he suffered an injury from shrapnel before returning to the US to start a business in vacuum and sewing machine sales. My father, Rick, and my uncle Michael were raised in Buffalo, New York, where, under the influence of my grandma Mimi's less observant familial tradition, they celebrated both Hanukkah and a secularized Christmas, and did not regularly attend synagogue. Both Rick and Michael were able to go to college. Both my father and uncle moved to California in the 1960s and the 70s, to Berkeley, where my father met a Gentile woman, Bronwyn Davies, who was the daughter of a late Unitarian minister, and I was born their only child. An unconventional person living through highly experimental times, my father cared little for either traditional religious observance or for any social group identification with Jewishness. He did not pass down any kind of Jewish tradition or familial wisdom to me, and although I always understood that I was Jewish by heritage, anything I learned of my Jewish traditions was offered to me by my Gentile mother, who, having grown up Unitarian, recognized in its absence the value of belonging to a people. This is how I come by my Ashkenazi eyes, my curly hair, my wide instep, and my belonging at the outside margins of Jewishness, that particular location at which one is a Jew to any white supremacist, but not a Jew by Jewish law. Each year, as my mother taught me to do, my family lights the Hanukkah candles to honor the people who, like oil, persisted far longer than expected and shone brighter than was hoped. More than 100 years after Rachel set eyes on Walter, I find myself free of the demands of keeping a kosher kitchen or the obligation to observe the high holy days. Standing here in America, a lapsed Unitarian Universalist, sometimes pagan, I must look back toward the family that came from Russia to discern what my Jewish heritages taught me about love. When I was a child, I understood love as a good feeling and brotherly love as an ideal to live for, but my life and my choices belonged only to me. My decisions, mine. My religion, my own choice. Meaning, my own to find. Traditions became something to establish for my children rather than to carry down from my elders. Iconoclast that I am, perhaps that's for the best. And yet, as we now face what changes may come to America in the years ahead, good emotions and self-determination feel far too thin and dry a bread to sustain me and those for which I might become an ancestress of tomorrow. In part, what will be needed to survive will be love as my ancestors seem to have understood it. No one who we love is ever forgotten or left behind. Family is what we are given by God. Those we love are those to whom we owe a debt of service against inconvenience, against the expense of our own time and money, against the threat of violent regimes and the limitation of laws and borders, against arrogance or pride, against apathy, against difficulty, against death itself. Through the love of saved pennies and patience, the discomfort of steerage class, the $3 a week of a young mother paid for her own parents and siblings, and her investment in their education to provide opportunity for generations to come. Each generation after hers has earned the right to work less and choose more for ourselves than the one before. Only if we continue to choose love with all the obligation that comes with it will we have made Esther's sacrifice and the sacrifice of all our ancestors truly worth it. Only if we revisit who is in our family and expand it until everyone we know is sent for and safe will we have improved on the legacy of the past, making it larger without sacrificing its truth. So I reflect today, who do you know? Who is dear to you, connected by blood or even by vicinity? Who is in danger? Who still remains in the dark places you have left behind? What might it mean to send for them, to pay their passage, to house and feed them, to empower them so that they are able to stand on their own and live the life they choose? Perhaps in this, we can be like oil, making more of ourselves than seems possible.
So please stand in body and or spirit to sing our responsive song, Love Will Guide Us.
Will
You may be seated.
Fill us and give us enough light to knock down the walls and barriers that divide and separate us.
Searching for a light in a land filled with conflict. My reflections from my journey to Palestine. I get off the plane in Tel Aviv. Luckily, I am not strip searched, yet so many Palestinians I know are subjected to complete strip searches upon entry. This is reality here for Palestinians, strip searched in the airport of their own home. Where is the light? Where is the hope? I traveled to Nazareth to meet with our Keep Hope Alive campaign, Olive Tree campaign group. We settle in and meet with our tour guide, Sadiq, whose name means friend. He is a Palestinian living within Israel. Sadiq invites us into his house for food and drink. Here, light shines bright. Sadiq shows us compassion and hospitality. We travel to the Sea of Galilee. We stop at the Church of the Beatitudes that was constructed on one of the hills that overlooks the Sea of Galilee, a possible site where Jesus could have preached the Sermon on the Mount. I see two young adults kissing and cuddling on the grounds. Here, light shines through love shared between two people. Yet, this light is extinguished by a nun who tells them to stop kissing and cuddling. Why are you extinguishing their love, is what I want to say to her. Back in Nazareth, in Israel, we hear Palestinian protesters in the street, protesters who continue to protest the military occupation of Palestinian lives within Israel and within the West Bank and Gaza. Protesters wanting basic human rights. We join in the protest and yell alongside Palestinians. Here, light shines in the darkness as righteous rage. Here, peace is sought through justice. The next day, we stop at Irket, a Palestinian Christian worshiping community near the border of Lebanon. These Palestinian Christians still worship in their church on their church grounds, which had been bombed during the 1948 creation of Israel. Palestinian youth, young adults, and elders all take turns occupying these church lands, because if they leave, the land will be confiscated by the Israeli military. They take turns going to work or school or university. They take care of one another. This community worships together, hosts summer camps for kids, teaches the history of their town and their culture to their children, and they welcome in guests from all over the world with a warm drink and some food. They share their story with us. Here, the light of hope and resistance shines bright. We travel to Bethlehem to meet our olive planting group. We come together as a group of internationals and local Palestinians. We partner together to plant olive trees on Palestinian farmers' land that has been unjustly confiscated by the Israeli military. We are given food and drink at these farmers' homes. Here, light shines bright in the shadow of darkness. Light shines through the joy of the planting and being in solidarity with the Palestinian farmers and the group of internationals. Here, there is light, peace, and hope. We witness trees being torn up by Israeli military occupiers. We are blocked from planting trees on one farmer's land, even after that farmer shows the Israeli military his land deed. Where is the light? Where is the love? We witnessed the joy of cooking harissa with Palestinian women in their refugee camp. They teach us how to make this special Palestinian dessert. We share laughter and joy as we cook, eat, and break bread together. Here, light shines bright through the joy of food. We end our time together as internationals and Palestinians who have worked together, planted and harvested together. We end this time with a dinner of celebration and a presentation of the Palestinian dance, with Palestinian performers dancing the dabka. Working with literal plowshares and shovels in solidarity with Palestinians was the embodiment of peace and light for me. Feeling connected to the land, my body, and people of Palestine and all over the globe is the spark of light that will never be extinguished inside of me. This spark of light will continue to grow as it connects with other sparks of light, fighting for justice and in solidarity work that is so necessary in this world. This is the world I want to live in. I want to live in a world where plowshares and food are shared freely amongst one another. I want to live in a world where walls are knocked down and made into bridges. I want to live in a world where we can hold each other accountable in love. I want to live in a world where infinite, unconditional, and redemptive love exists and is practiced. These are the messages of Christmas that we can take with us as we share our light with one another this day and every day. Remember the stories you heard here today and take those with you. Amen, and may it be so, and Merry Christmas. Please stand for our closing carol by candlelight, Silent Night. And we will allow for Nylea to play through one verse of Silent Night as our candles are lit. Once the usher has lit your candle on a row, pass the light down to your neighbor so their light may be ignited. May you keep hope alive this holiday season. May it be so, and Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.